Morning, everybody, and welcome to day 5 of the God Hears Her devotional. Give me 1 second, my dog just came in. Our scripture for this morning comes to us from Matthew chapter 14, verses 13 through 23. So if y'all are ready, let's get started. And the word says, When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them and healed their sick. As evening approached, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a remote place and it's already getting late. Send the crowds away so they can go to the villages and buy themselves some food." Jesus replied, "They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat." We have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. "Bring them here to me," he said, and he directed the people to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looking up at heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then he gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. They all ate and were satisfied, and the disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces that were left over. The number of those who ate was about 5,000 men, besides women and children. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. After he dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone. I'll just finish reading it. And the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves, because the wind was against it. Shortly before Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I. Don't be afraid." "Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and beginning to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly you are the Son of God." When they had crossed over, they landed in Gennesaret. And when the men of that place recognized Jesus, they sent word to all surrounding the country. People brought all their sick to him and begged him to let the sick just touch the edge of his cloak, and all who touched it were healed. 1 second while I prepare the scripture summary, please. Our scripture summary this morning comes to us from Matthew 15, verse 31. I wrote down, sometimes in difficult seasons, we doubt that Jesus makes a path. It takes time to trust that everything will be fine. Be still. God will work it out. The reason I wrote that down is because sometimes in our lives, God will throw us unexpected curveballs that we as human beings can't understand or don't know how to handle. So when that happens, our first instinct is to, at least for me, kind of be angry at the change of plans and blame people depending on the situation. But throughout the last couple of days, as I've calmed down and realized that this was actually kind of a blessing in disguise, because now we get to help each other a lot more. I realized that sometimes God will throw us curveballs, and it can affect us in different ways. But that's okay, because God's already figured out the plan anyway. So even though our first reaction is to freak out and be frustrated, it's okay to be frustrated. God doesn't deny that emotion from us. But at the end of the day, once you figure that out, then it's time to pick yourself up and figure out how you can help in whatever way possible. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a blessed Monday morning, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everybody.